Hello, this is Father Rich. I'm here in the on the second floor of the rectory at Our Lady of Peace. Here is a little excerpt from the next masterpiece. Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. If all time is eternally present, all time is unredeemable. What might have been is an abstraction, remaining a perpetual possibility. Only in a world of speculation. This is taken from T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, and so that's our next number 52, our next masterpiece as we walk through the 75 masterpieces that every Christian should know. I'm here in front of this picture and also our candle that has the angel's wings scent, and it's a picture of an angel, and we think of kind of this idea that the angels are beyond space and time. They, unlike humanity, which obviously in our uniqueness that we live in space and time, so they point us to this eternal reality and existence for which we're created, but we're not yet experiencing. So I thought that was a good reinforcement of the eternal. I'm not really sure what painting this is or where it came from, but the angels remind us of that. So T.S. Eliot, they really mention how he had a unique ability in poetry to use words to, as they say, speak about the unspeakable. I like this kind of summary. It borrows its title from a musical form, and it offers up poetry that expresses some of the deepest universal human realities with the musicality of poetic expression. So, and it goes on to say, they find ways to almost say the unsayable and provide glimpses of universal spiritual experiences and moments of enlightenment. So it's kind of, there's a mystical sense, and we've used that word before, but this desire for Elliot to almost go, at some point we'll talk more about his life in a moment, but he studied the mystics. He was very caught up in that, the tradition in the Catholic Church of these mystic saints that saw this ability to connect with God through meditation and contemplation. And the irony that we say that God is ineffable, that's one of the defining words we use, that he cannot be spoken about, but yet we have some desire to try to speak about him and capture him on some level. So we start usually trying to use words, but then by using the words, we're limiting God who can't be limited. So we see this kind of interesting quandary that we run into. And so they talk about it in the chapter. So he's kind of trying to talk about the eternal and this sense of the eternal, that God is eternal in the present, but yet we still are experiencing in humanity kind of a past and a future. And so they kind of mention how we might consider what Eliot's trying to do in the sense of the Greek words for time, how the word chronos is more of that linear fashion of unfolding time that we think about chronologically. That's where we get that root word from. Whereas when we think of the other word used, which is kairos, time and something eternal, lasting, permanent. So they say in Eliot's poems, we experience this present as a presence. The presence of God meets us in the moment. So this is the still point to which Eliot points in the poems. So there's this kind of playing on time and eternity, the now, the eternal now of God. And obviously, this would ultimately show Eliot's faith. He developed a faith life, a relationship with God. He eventually became Anglican, but he was born in St. Louis in Missouri, and actually was raised in a Unitarian church. But eventually he would move to England. He went to Harvard because he showed a great intellectual ability, showed a passion for writing and poetry, and eventually would start writing, and eventually ended up in London and would become Anglican, where he really saw the piety and the religious expression as something that he thought was very significant and worthwhile. In that study, like we said, he got caught up, captivated by the mystics, studied the mystics like Julian of Norwich and St. John of the Cross. And and then would write these books. Now, again, his poem, this quartet, 4 quartets that he wrote, it is from 1943. He started writing, he was born in 1888 and moved to England in 1914, so he was 26 years old. And then one of his earliest poems, The Wasteland, in 1922, one of his mentors, Ezra Pound, helped to kind of to edit it and take it to another level, and helped him kind of establish his style, which really would take off and be very popular. So because that poem, they say, The Wasted Land, widely and enthusiastically embraced as an example of modernism, so it kind of made him a literary celebrity overnight, as they say. And so kind of dealing with like almost a Dantean, the Dante Inferno, kind of this reality of the brokenness and the darkness that humanity is capable of and living in, and kind of also expressing he was critical of modernism in its ways of trying to find fulfillment and purpose outside of God, and really how that was a futile, effort on humanity's part. So very critical of that. He joined the Anglican Church in 1927, so he would have been, young 30s when he did that. And we don't have a real, he didn't write ever about his conversion or what that was all about. We just see the influence on his poems and his poetry. But he did eventually move from kind of having a private faith to what he saw as important to have a willingness to publicly profess one's faith. And so he did kind of make an effort to move in that direction. So they conclude in this way: T.S. Eliot believed humanity's best hope was in rediscovering the values and traditions upon which we could construct a truly Christian culture, one that was realistic about the flawed nature of humans, the danger of unchecked individualism, and that embraced the hope that could be found in practicing an intellectually responsible Christianity in community with other believers. So, yes, again, T.S. Eliot, haven't had a lot of exposure to him in the past, so this was great to get to know him. It was a name I certainly knew in literature since my education in high school, but hadn't really, gotten much exposure to. So appreciated learning his story. Hopefully it can inspire us and help us to kind of see that same goal of integrating the culture with our tradition, and the goal that we saw in the last paragraph here that I just read. So that's our quartets, the four quartets, by T.S. Eliot. Our next masterpiece will be number 53, The Man Born to be King. It's a drama from 1943 by Dorothy L. Sayers. So thank you. Have a great day and God bless.